Good day mga idol! In this video, I will discuss the victim precipitation theory and the incapacitation theory. But first, I will introduce myself. I am John Arvin V. Cernat from BSc 1-6. Victim precipitation theory. So, what is a victim? A victim is a person harmed, injured, or killed as a result of crime, accident, or other event or action. Victim precipitation theory. These theories are based on the concept that victims themselves precipitate, contribute to, provoke, or actually cause the outcome. These theories assumes that some crimes, especially violent crimes, are interactions or transactions between victims and offenders. Like all criminology theories, victim precipitation relates to how and why crime happens. While most theories focus on the acts and intentions of the offender, victim precipitation seeks to understand the interaction between the victim and the offender. Under this theory, the victim is viewed an active participant in the crime. This happens in two ways. First, the victim is the participant in the crime who acts first. And second, the victim encourages or provokes the offender to commit the crime. These are the primary components of the victim precipitation. There are two types of victim precipitation theory: the active precipitation and the passive precipitation. In passive precipitation, the victims exhibit personal characters and unknowingly threatens or encourages the attacker. And victims' mere presence threatens the attacker's reputation, status, or economic well-being. While in active precipitation, the victims act provocatively and also use threats or fighting words or even attack first. Consider the following example. Cain and Abel are having a drink at the local tavern. Abel owes Cain money, and as the night progresses, Cain becomes increasingly agitated with Abel's failure to pay his debt. Finally, Cain snaps. He shouts at Abel from across the bar, and then charges at him. Brandishing a pistol, he fires a shot towards Abel, barely missing his head. Abel pulls a knife and stabs Cain to death as the two wrestle on the floor. Under the precipitation theory, Cain's participation in his own death can be analyzed by applying the theory's two components. First, Cain was the initial aggressor. He started the verbal altercation, and he started the physical altercation when he fired his pistol at Abel. Second, Cain clearly provoked Abel. He ran towards him aggressively, intending to kill or seriously injure him. Victim precipitation theory also relates to interactions that make a victim susceptible to crime. This application of theory is known as victim facilitation, and it concerns situations where a victim's negligence or carelessness makes them more vulnerable to criminal conduct. The phrase victim precipitation was first introduced by 20th century criminologist Marvin Wolfgang, and he defines it as in which situation the victim was the initial aggressor in the action. Moving on, the incapacitation theory. Incapacitation refers to the restriction of an individual's freedom and liberties and they will normally have in society. Within the criminal justice system, incapacitation is the response used when a person committed a crime. By incapacitating the convinced offender, we prevent the individual from committing future crimes because he is removed from society and locked up or restrained somehow. Proponents of the incapacitation theory. Punishment advocate that offenders should be prevented from committing further crimes either by their temporary or permanent removal from society or by some other method that restricts their physical ability to reoffend in some other way. Is the most common method in incapacitating offenders. However, other, more severe forms such as capital punishment are also used. The overall aim of incapacitation is to prevent the most dangerous or prolific offenders from reoffending in the community. Incapacitation is a reductivist or forward-looking justification for punishment. Reductivism is underpinned by the theory of moral reasoning known as utilitarianism, which maintains that an act is defensible and reasonable if its overall consequences are beneficial to the greatest number of people. Thus, the pain of suffer the pain or suffering imposed on an offender through punishment is justified if it reduces or prevents the further harm that that would have been caused to the rest of society by the future crimes of the offender. The concern here is with the victim or potential victim. The rights of the offender merit little consideration. Incapacitation has long been a significant strategy of punishment. For example, in Britain, during the 18th and 19th centuries, convicted offenders were often transported to Australia and the Americas. In the 21st century, the physical removal of offenders from society remains the primary method of incapacitation in most contemporary penal systems. This usually takes the form of imprisonment, although the although other methods of incapacitation are in operation. The most severe and permanent form of incapacitation is capital punishment. Capital punishment is often justified through the concept of deterrence, but whether the death sentence actually deters potential offenders is highly contested. What is indisputable is that once put to death, an individual is incapable of committing further offenses. Capital punishment is therefore undeniably effective in terms of incapacitative function. The application of incapacitation. Most commonly, the term incapacitation is reserved for individuals who are sent to prison or given the death penalty. However, it also includes things like being supervised by departments within the community, such as probation and parole. They report Day reporting centers and ankle bracelets with GPS tracking device may also be incorporated to incapacitate an individual. In some societies, incapacitation does not directly equate to imprisonment. It may involve corporal punishment or dismemberment. Western societies, such as United States and much of Europe, do not employ these tactics. However, chemical castrations, which includes court-ordered injections of a hormone that prevents the male offender from being able to perform sexually and may include minor surgery as well, has been used to incapacitate some sex offenders in both United States and Europe.